There is some companies, for example, our client is, it's not exactly this, but called Sanako, who is doing this language laboratories. So they have they can use the teaching the languages. And the Sanako is actually what their product is just a platform, and it can be in the computer, or they have a separate device, or like a small device what you can use without the computer. So only the teacher has a computer and the student has this small device what they are using.
So that's a Kenyan company?
No, it's Finnish company.
Finnish company working in Kenya.
No, they are not. They don't have any office here. So we are just looking for business for them.
Ah.
And they have had a couple of the projects in Tanzania earlier, a few years back, and now we're looking for something also from Kenya. But that is basically for language, teaching the languages. So it's like empty platform. The teacher will make the content. So basically, it's like that kind of thing that if we have a group of students here, so then everybody has a computer, so I can give, for example, some exercises for you, and then I can give different exercises for them, and different exercise for example, they have some reading exercise, you have some listening exercise, yes. And then I can follow those in my own computer what the classroom is doing, or all the classroom can do the same thing.
And also give instructions.
Yeah, basically normal language laboratory, but it's like that what they have in the computer is like an empty platform. So it's like, so the teacher is doing the content. So they don't have one thing for the Spanish and one thing for the English, one thing for the German. So basically you can teach every language with the same system because you create your own content.
Yes.
So
it's
you can take
ready program software.
You can just attach some links for example, the BBC or whatever. And of course you can choose the language of the platform, that is it in English or Swahili or whatever.
Has it been used somewhere, like in Finland or?
No, it's very famous company in Finland.
Yes.
And I think many Finnish schools are using it.
Okay.
And also they are quite strong in Europe, in Russia, in China, they are in several 10 countries. So that is old company.
Yes.
And they have done this quite long time. What else about this? Well, I mentioned that one company, Leija. I just heard about that they are doing something in Tanzania.
And Leija is a Finnish company as well.
Yeah. So only my worries about this, all this gadget which is coming from Finland or whatever, is that for example, not long time ago, there was one Finnish university contacting me. They did some cooperation with some Danish company and Danish university, and they would like to bring this kind of accounting program, which was meant to be for these informal companies here, small companies, because they're thinking that they don't have afford to buy those licenses, and that's why they was thinking they can develop the program for the small companies in Kenya, and then they come here and give it for the companies. And I'm very much against about that kind of things, because the NGOs they are okay, do a lot of good things, but also they are mixing up the market, because there are many Kenyan companies here who is developing the software. Small companies, they take bank loan, then they start developing the softwares for the mobile phone platform or the computer platform, and then they doing the business as a market based. Then the NGOs coming here with the government money, they have a different kind of nice gadget for the education or accounting or whatever, and then they deliver all those things free of charge.
So they are mixing them?
Then they push all the local companies out of the market.
So that leads to me to a question that, in your opinion, what is the best way to approach the Kenyan market? Not like bringing something new, but like operating, developing something together.
If you want to develop the Kenyan market and this market, then all the companies, of course, they are welcome for, like in any other country, that if you come here as a business based, it's the same thing that if some company is coming, for example, let's say like from China to Finland, and they have a heavy government support for the products, and then they come into Finnish market and they launch the product to Finnish market. I think the Finnish are not so happy about that. if they're out of the business because of that they're coming. But same thing is happening in Africa all the time. The NGOs coming here with the big money, they have a lot of money, they think that they do a lot of good things, but at the same time they're doing like they're pushing the local companies out of the business.
Yeah. How would you describe the market, like ICT market here? Is it very high level?
No, it's in some cases it's higher level than in Europe. For example, if you look to M-Pesa here, it's more advanced here in Kenya what is in Europe to using the mobile money. And I think in some cases, for example, to Kenya, I talked here with a year ago with the managing director of the Google, and he said that his opinion is that this mobile money will be that the countries in Africa, they will jump over the credit cards because they go directly for the mobile money. So there is this kind of quantum leap here that you don't use that in Europe, because we have all those old systems. We go gradually, slowly for the new system.
Yes.
Before we abandon those credit cards, before we go to mobile money, it takes a time. But the people here, because the economic is developing very fast, the middle class is growing very fast. So the people that if they don't have a credit card and the mobile money is working well, so why to take the credit card? You can go directly for the mobile money.
Yes.
And same thing about these platforms, that what you use, what you said that people don't have tablets yet. And I know, for example, some Finnish companies, they're still developing some program for the African market for the old mobile phones.
Yes.
Which I think it's stupid, because I just discussed about a month ago, and then somebody argued for me that, okay, no, every Maasai guy in the bush, they don't have a smartphone. I said, no, not yet, but we go 1 year ahead. Maybe they already have it.
Yeah, mobile phones are so important here.
Yeah,
so
and the market is growing very fast. That they don't use those old. At the moment, they may be used, but if you look how fast the smartphone market has increased in, for example, in Kenya, it's very fast.
That's a very important point, because in our project we were thinking that instead of trying to develop something for a tablet, directly to tablet computers, we could start with audio stories for mobile phones, so that like very reasonable price, so that the children can listen to them through their mobile phones.
And it's a smartphone or
that's a question. Yes.
Yeah,
yes. So you recommend the smartphone?
No. If you go any Safaricom shop, any shop here, and look what they are selling. And already the Chinese offer for these ideas, the Huawei phone, already last year the price was less than 100 US. And I think the price is going down. So I don't think that people anymore go for those old phones without. They go directly for the smartphones.
Yes.
And also if you look how the people are using the internet in Africa, most of the people they're using through the mobile phones, not through the computers.
But it's quite expensive here, like using the internet here.
Yeah, that might be, but anyway, that is the future, and of course the prices are coming down all the time. That developing anything for the old mobile phones, I think that is waste of time. You should go directly for the smartphones, and I think also the platform should be the smartphone platform. Because anyway, the people, they don't go, maybe they go to tablets or the smartphone coming somewhere between the tablets and computer, but maybe the laptop is already old-fashioned.
Yes.
And the people, I think most of the people here, they don't buy the laptops anymore. They buy the tablets or smartphone or something which goes between the smartphone and the tablets.
What kind of tablets? Do they buy Apple or cheaper ones?
No, I think that depends how much you have the money. I think it's the same thing here than everywhere else that you buy according to your. Is the coffee ready? I think we can take. It's probably not going so fast as China did, but anyway, it's a lot of similarities, and also the Chinese present here because the Chinese are everywhere.
And also selling their stuff cheaper, and and also these tablet computers.
Like Huawei now, they have a cheap tablet phone, they have a cheap smartphone, and
Do you think that it will be the Chinese products and devices that take over?
More or less all these are made in China, including the Apple, and all the computers and most of them are made in China. I don't know, it depends. Of course, I think that it's like a consumer, they are buying, what I said, that they're picking up the products according how much they have money. So it's not depend. Also that like Lenovo, which is computer, it's a Chinese brand, and people, that is like a old former IBM, and that is quite big computer. And I think if they come into mobile phone market, why not? And Huawei maybe, why not? But of course, what kind of device you pick up depends very much other things, that some people they only using the Nokia, some people only using the Apple and whatever.
Yeah, we noticed on YouTube there was like a news item. Two young fellows in their 20s have been developing like a local tablet computers, and they are being manufactured in China and selling them. So I think that can be also the trend.
Yeah, no, basically actually have to change that everybody can be the mobile phone manufacturer at the moment, because the whole industry has changed. So that in Chinese they have, because it used to be like when Nokia went to China, it was like they have all those things that they are buying all the components by themselves, and they put all the phones, they make the whole assembling. But at the moment there's a lot of like providers or manufacturing providers, or how you call them, that they do the whole thing for you. So basically you can be a mobile phone product manufacturer, that you do only the designing for how it looks like and what you would like to have it inside of, and then you buy all these services and the assembling from some other companies. So you can basically do the research and development, and then you don't have to have your own factory to do it. So you buy everything outside. So Taiwanese are very, 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 very.
But can you see that also small companies have got a chance to compete?
Well, now in Finland we have this Jolla, which is very small, and I think they do exactly that they are buying everything out. They outsource everything. They only do the research and development by themselves, and everything else they outsource, and they're buying all those equipments
from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that will be the trend for these devices, that they don't have like mobile phone companies or the new companies, they don't invest anymore for the factories and as much like Nokia did.
How do you see the situation, position of Nokia here in Africa?
No, when I came here 2 years back, I came to that conclusion very soon, especially in Kenya, that Nokia has grouped up the market. Because Nokia was what I also, before I came here, I read about story that there was a lot of talking about this POP, this bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah, I was in that seminar last year.
Yeah, and Nokia also emphasized in that time this cheapest model, what they have. There was actually in Economist there was once an article, and they call it this Nokia cheapest model like AK-47, because there's as many AK-47s as rifles in Africa, but also the Nokia mobile phones. And that is very cheap technology and very cheap phone, like $20 phone. But already 2 years back, if you went to the shop, you look what kind of phones they were. They have a smartphone, they have a BlackBerry, they have a Samsung, they have a LG, they have old Huawei, but you didn't see any Nokia. Because Nokia was all the time targeting this very low segment, and all the other companies, they are targeting the high-end segment. And of course they're selling also the low segments, but the target was different. Mm-hmm. And now Nokia I think they are losing the market, because they don't have any option for the high-end market. That actually the people's mind, they're thinking about the Nokia as a cheap phone. And then if it's like for you, that if you don't have money, you buy your first car, and if you buy the cheapest car what you can afford, if you get money, probably you don't upgrade the same model, you go to better car, and then you all the time, if you might be one day I can buy the Mercedes-Benz or BMW. You're not doing like that you have like Tata, the cheapest Tata what you can buy, and then you upgrade you're staying as a Tata person all your life. And I think in the mobile phones are saying that people, they are buying now the $20 Nokia, if they get more money, they want to buy something better.
More fancy, yeah.
Yeah, and then they don't think that they are buy the better Nokia model. They go to directly for Samsung or Apple or LG or what they think is fancy.
But like last time I was here, I was in this BOP seminar, and there was somebody from Nairobi, Nokia office, telling about their research work and how they try to go to the rural areas, developing all kinds of softwares, and also doing some digital storytelling, which I was doing in Kipera at that time. So I saw that they tried to develop and understand the market, and they had invested a lot of time and money for that. But do you think it's been fruitful?
No. Maybe you get a lot of information in that market, the very low market, but is that the right market as a company? That's the question.
So that's also very important for us to understand that some are we addressing like the masses in rural areas, or like the ones who are able to pay for that?
Because if I'm looking for that at the company point of view, I'm not looking for the company. The Nokia is not NGO. Nokia should make a profit. That is the company. It is not here as an NGO. It's not Nokia should not be in Africa to do something free of charge work. Of course, they have this company responsibility, but the main focus as a company, they should make a profit.
Yes.
And in the company, then you should think about that. Where is the market, the right segment for you? And that's what I said. That I think the Nokia
they're confused.
Yeah, they pick up the wrong segment because they went this BOP segment. They should go to the mid-level, high-level market, and of course then everything follows there. But they did it like upside down, and that I think it was like a mistake in Nokia marketing. And for that, this morning actually I lost my other phone. I went to the Safaricom shop today to have a new SIM card, and I just looked at what phones they have on display.
Yes.
There was just one Nokia.
So they are losing.
And Nokia was one of the biggest mobile phone manufacturer a few years back. And Nokia was they have a very big market share also in Africa, but they are now losing all the time the market share.
Yes. So
because they look like that all the people in Africa are poor. That's not true.
That's not true. There is a lot of money going around.
There's a lot of money. There's a lot of the very fast growing middle class, and I think the Africans, like Asians, they want to show off that if you have something,
it's a status symbol. Yeah.
Not like the Finns, that if you have something, that if you have a lot of money, still you buy the cheapest one, and then you don't show off. But I think the Africans, if you have money, you show off. You have a better mobile phone, you put it on the table that this is my mobile phone.
Yes. Okay, going back to what we are developing in Finland. So we've got an independent production company, and we are developing content, not so much the technology. Like I've been trying to do some fundraising to develop the content itself. And I would like to continue working here because of the atmosphere. It's more inspiring here, and I can see that you can achieve here things faster than in Finland. So, what do you think if I come here? If I get some financing for the content production, whom should I contact here to work with? Because we need like technology companies who know how this works, and who knows how like teleoperators work, and like how to also earn money with the content.
There's several options. Depends, of course. But I should know a little bit more specific what you are looking for. Of course, that's like making the money. We had one client a few years back, that last year, who were selling. They were selling like content for the mobile phones for buying the music.
Yes. Yeah.
And we introduced them for the several companies who are selling like the PayPal.
Yes.
Which is running this
distributing.
Yes, payment things,
payment,
and then also Safaricom, and also that depends what kind of content you are offering and where to do mobile phone.
Yes. Now I'm talking more or less about the like audio stories, like Finnish stories. Our stories we collect from all over the world, but I've got now 20 stories, short format stories ready from Finland, in Finnish and in English, and I'm trying to have them translated into Swahili as well, because I would like to combine like English speaking and Swahili speaking market in Africa, starting from Kenya. And Joe is here because he's creating the content, like collecting African short stories,
Okay.
and we are making audio stories out of those. So they would be in English and in Swahili.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, to approach like the teleoperators and see how we could work together, and not going directly to tablet computers, but package them like a print, like a book and CD. That would be one project or product, and the other one that you can order them through your mobile phone and listen to the stories.
Maybe the CD is already out of the...
It might be, but it's still, there, even in Finland.
You don't even have computers anymore. CD.
No, I haven't either. You're right. Yes, it's impossible almost to find a computer with a CD player. Yeah. Okay, let's forget
and also
that.
if you go to anywhere, then if you try to find the CDs, the music CDs, they
Yeah,
don't
that's
have music
true.
CDs anymore.
Perhaps that's a bad idea.
Everything is MP3 or MP4.
Yes, but I've been checking around in bookstores, like fancy bookstores here in Nakumat and places. They don't have any stories for children, like local stories. No books, no CDs, no audio stories. So I think, and this is a country of stories and long tradition of stories. So I really have that feeling that there is a big marketplace for stories.
But maybe you should find this guy, because I think that I'm very old-fashioned. I'm not even know about this MP3s and MP4s. I just learned this year how to convert the YouTube for MP3.
Yeah.
Because, like my colleague here, that they don't even know what is CD anymore. And what I said, that there's no CDs placed in the computers, and you can, if you want some music nowadays, they don't have any CDs.
That's true. Yes.
And that was one observation what I did also in when I came here, because I was looking for just going for where the music stores. Basically, you don't find any music store here. You go to Nakumat. They have some music CDs which like 10 years, 20 years old. And then I was wondering why they don't have any new CDs. And I was thinking first that because if for some reason there's no distribution or something like that, but that's not the reason. The reason is that people don't anymore buy CDs.
So it's
they
all
buy the
online.
MP3.
Yes.
They don't buy anymore the CD players. So because they buy everything from the computer, they're listening to music from their mobile phones and they're using the MP3 and MP4. That's why there's no market for the CDs, no market for the CD players and DVD, even the DVDs. That if you try to find the DVDs,
they are all copies in slums, like you pay 50 shillings. Yeah.
But all the movies also, the people are looking for their computers, but they are buying from the
downloading.
Yeah.
That is so true. Yes. Yeah. That's an important.
So I was thinking that if you do this, continue maybe the one thing what you could, if you can find the platform, existing platform, who might be the interesting to take the stories in their platform, where somebody can download them.
Yes.
So MP3 or whatever, how they call this iPod, the podcast.
Yeah, podcast. Yeah. How about the teleoperators here, like Safaricom and Orange and these? Have you got
No, I have been in the Safaricom, and then if the Safaricom, you have to have very strong business case. They are to get meeting with them, and they're very straightforward. That if they are interesting, that they have the calculation how much is their profit, how much they take, and how much you can have. And they take quite a big deal.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
But you have to have very strong business case. and proven business case before they are interested.
So okay. So you don't just come here with a great idea. You need to show that it works somewhere. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you have to have a very good presentation, and you have to have very good calculation for that how much if they can earn money, then they're interested. It's that otherwise it's a waste of time to arrange the meeting with Safaricom if you just go for.
Yeah, but that's also the reason why we were thinking about this packaging, like print media, the little books and CDs, to prove them that there is market for this. Because otherwise it's very, very difficult to prove when you are trying to invent something completely new that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but maybe those who are, I don't know, where the people are buying the music here, which platforms. Maybe there you can sell the idea for those same service providers.
That's very, very important, because that's what we are working with George now. He's a music director, and we are making a music album at the moment, and finding out how we can distribute the music online. So that's very important.
But if you find those, because I'm not so familiar with this, but if you can find those service providers, most of the people buying the music probably they can buy the stories on the same platform.
That's a very, very good idea. Yes, yeah. How do you see the overall picture in Kenya, the development of economy, and is it growing?
Oh, it's growing at the moment very fast, but of course everybody is waiting for those elections. What will happen to elections? That if the elections will go smoothly, I think there are gonna be some clashes, but I hope not big ones. And if they go smoothly, I think then the economy will start growing faster than what is growing now. Because at the moment everybody is waiting, and they think they are holding the investments. Everybody is like wait and see position. But if everything goes smoothly, then it will be burst, and then I think the growth rate will be higher than what is at the moment. Because there's a lot of waiting.
Yes, yeah. Do you know about the educational system here? Like, whom should we approach if we want to cooperate with somebody on that level? Because if we want to approach schools, we need to have it like officially improved in their curriculum, and I've learned from my colleagues that it's very complicated and a very slow process.
No, it is. It's because we have, what I said, this Sanako is one of our clients, and that they have tried to do everything. We have contacted the Ministry of Education. There's like this actually very fancy state-of-the-art testing center here in Kong Road. They call it, what is that, National? Had the meetings with the Ministry of Education and related offices and the donors and everything, but that's slow, as you said. Then of course the other market, what we are now proposing for the Sanako, that we should approach the private schools.
The private schools?
Yeah, because they have money, their decision making is much more faster. If they are interesting and if they see the value, they will buy it. So it's not like you go to ministries and then you go here and there and do this and that, and then you never know when it's going to be.
Exactly, it can take years before.
Yeah. So that if you have a good product, you go to private school, you talk about you need it, and then if they need it and they see the value, they'll probably buy it.
Yeah, yes, and perhaps have some pilot project there testing it.
Yeah.
What about how do they also get financing from here, like donors, sponsorships?
If I thought we're doing for the private company side, so the private companies, if they come to this market, they come in with their own money, and that if they decide, this is very much like a traditional export market for the Finnish companies, because there's not so much local production here, so it's easy to export here. You don't have to be present, so you can be, okay, you have to have depends the product, but you can have an agent or distributor here, but you don't have to have your own office necessarily. But of course, like, for example, the KONE, is a big company, and if you go any new shopping center here in Nairobi, all those escalators and elevators are made by Kone. Kone don't have any office here; they have a distributor, which is doing the business for them. So. And there are very few companies at the moment who has office. Like Wärtsilä is one; they have their own office, but Wärtsilä has been here, I think, decades. Like anywhere in Africa. Nokia, of course. But there are some smaller companies, but not so many yet.
Yes, yes. Why do you think that there are so few Finnish companies there?
Many reasons. The Finnish companies, in the first place, they are quite small. Most of the Finnish companies are SMEs, and of course you go there, which is if you have a business nearby, why to come to Africa? If you make business in Europe, if you make business in Russia, no need to come to it so far. But actually, at the moment now, the last 2 years when I have been here, I have been quite surprised that so many companies are interested about Africa.
Yes, and there have been so many seminars in Helsinki and in Finland about business possibilities in Africa, so it's very much in the air there now.
Yeah, because we have had a couple of seminars there, and we always have like 100, 120 people.
Yes, I've been to your seminars.
And I'm quite surprised. But it's one thing what I'm thinking, that because the Europe is so bad phase at the moment, there is no business in Europe, and the companies, they have to do something. And if you haven't been to Asia yet, Asia is a very difficult market to enter. China especially, very competitive, and you need a lot of company resources to go to China, because in China at the moment you have to have your own factories and everything. If you heading to Chinese market, it's very difficult to export anymore outside, because you are not competitive with the Chinese companies. But in Africa, then they look for some other market. Africa is then coming for next. Latin America also. And I think we have benefit for that, because the Europe is basically stagnating at the moment. So we benefiting for that in Africa. But the companies are more interested about Africa at the moment. So we have had actually very many about assignments.
Yeah, I've been listening to those case studies of people who have been working many years in Africa. It's very interesting to listen to their experiences. It's not very straightforward here either.
But we have had, in the first year, it was like a test year for us. We get quite many assignments already, and this year has been very busy. At the moment we have like prospects for the companies, what we're gonna do. We have like, I think, more than 20 at the moment.
Oh, that's a lot. How do Finnish people feel about the culture, business culture, and way of working here?
If I compare it to China, it's much more easier, because basically this is very much similar that you're working in there. I think there's not so big cultural difference working with Africa, especially in Kenya. People are speaking English, all the legislation is English, the legal system is based on common law, the education system is based on British education system. 80% of the people are Christian, so basically you have a similar values and the background in that thing. So it's what is the Africa there?
How about the sense of time?
Kenyans are very punctual.
In business?
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
yes.
Very punctual. We have never cases that somebody is coming late. Of course, it's always this traffic, but still, Kenyans are very, very punctual in the meetings.
That's good. Yeah.
They not. I haven't. When I came here, I was thinking about all those stereotypes what you hear about African time and African this and African that. But this is very much similar working than Europe. If I compare it to China, you have a totally different language, 5,000 years history, which is affecting a lot of businesses, different religions, they are like more or less like Taoists or Hindus or whatever. The school system is different.
Everything is different.
Yeah,
yes.
and then you have to try to find your way in that thing. It's very, very difficult comparing in Africa. Africa, this is very straightforward. People are more or less same. Everybody has the same state of mind.
How about marketing skills? Because in different countries all over the world, it very much depends on the nation and the way of or the selling skills. How would you describe Kenyans? Are they good salespeople and marketing?
Kenyans are very good. If you look the region in East African regions, Kenyans are everywhere. You go Tanzania, you go Uganda, you go Rwanda, you go anywhere that Kenyans are running the businesses. I think the most of the tourists coming here, they're coming to Kenya because they think the Kilimanjaro is in Kenya,
yes.
It is in Tanzania. And same thing, the Masai Mara. You look the map, Masai Mara is very, very tiny part of the Serengeti. And everybody coming to Masai Mara, they don't go to Serengeti because they think the Serengeti is also in Kenya.
Yeah. So that way, having business here is an advantage.
So the Kenyan has marketed these things very well. That they.
What about? Have you been following the discussion in Finland about Kenya and Mannerheim and all those sort of things?
Yes, very shortly, but looks like it was not. It's like here, nobody even knew the whole thing.
But it was really big in Finland.
Yeah.
People were so hurt.
But I think nobody knew that the whole thing about it in Nairobi.
No, I don't think so either. I was discussing with a local Mannerheim, the actor here, and it's really interesting to hear their point of view of the whole.
What they said in Finland that he is the most famous actors in Kenya.
No way, no.
And then you ask any Kenyans, they don't even know.
No. Like, he comes from very modest backgrounds.
Yeah.
But I think that all that thing is good for the image of Kenya in Finland. It's easier to do some fundraising there because everybody seems to know where Kenya is now. So.
Yeah. This is the one that I was looking for. Yeah.
National.
This is web page is www.ni3c.net. That's basically the
3C.
anything what they use in the government school, if it's related for ICT, have to be tested in that place.
And it's for development.
Any ICT solution, whatever. That's very nice.
ICT solutions.
They have to test it, and after that, if they approved, then it can be used in
this is very important for us.
Local schools. I think the private school doesn't matter, but if it's like a government school, they have to be approved in this place. It's very nice place. I have visited there once, and it's like it's actually very, very state-of-the-art systems, and it's very good system because basically they're also teaching that, because this is also one problem I think this country is, because what I said about the NGOs, they're bringing here everything. They're pushing everything, different kind of solution for different school, and every school have a different system. And then after 1 or 2 years, people don't know how to use them, they don't have any after-sales service, and then you have a lot of things which are not used anymore.
It's just pollution.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And actually this is a very good idea that they have this testing center, that everything have to go through for that, so then it's cutting a little bit this...
It's very clever.
And they're also teaching the teachers there, they're using the technology. They have a 24 hours, how you call this, service,
yes, yeah.
or help desk,
yeah.
for the schools. And I think this is a very good system, because otherwise it's a little bit cutting those. Otherwise you have a lot of things which nobody can use, or maybe some people use and then they left and then nobody can use that, and then it's a waste of time and money.
Sounds very good. Do you think it's possible to arrange a meeting up there? Are they like open for new ideas.
No, you can try.
Yes, yeah. It sounds very, very interesting. Good. Let me see if there is.
There was something about financing here.
Oh yeah, yes.
But that I don't know. That of course the financing, if you come as a company here, the financing, it's like a normal financing what you get from bank or what. There's no, that what I was thinking what your son was looking for.
So it doesn't work.
They don't have like this kind of government-based financial support. No, because in Finland, if you are developing something for schools, you can get grants from the Ministry of Education. Only what if you get in African case, of course, there's if you sell it for the donors, if the donors are buying that, but it's not government-based, and we don't have that in Kenya they don't have this kind of like we have TEKES or whatever.
Yes, it's developing funds or.
So the individual companies, they don't get, you get the money from bank, you can get money from the investors, like the angel investors. What they do, for example, in I don't know, are you familiar with this IHAP?
Yeah, actually I've tried to have an appointment with them. I got that, Sebastian got that, but and then I got two names from the Finnish embassy, from Emma. Last week, and I sent them an email on Friday asking for an appointment, but they don't seem to like to react, and I don't have their telephone numbers.
No, you just walk in there.
Just walk in. Where are they located?
In Kongrod.
In Kongrod.
In Kongrod, its opposite is that one Utsumi in Kongrod.
Do you know the place?
Yes.
Because we are going that way anyway. So yeah.
Basically,
that's a good advice. Yeah.
Anybody can walk in there.
Ah, okay. We just go there one day, and I stopped waiting. Yeah. Good. So banks, donors, business angels. Are there many business angels around?
But that's what they did, for example, this IHAP, because the IHAP is like an incubator for ICT businesses. And they have every year that they call it like Pivot 24 and 25 competition. And then they're selecting the companies which are most potential one. And I think they have a group of investors and angel investors, and the best one, they have a opportunity to give a presentation for the investors to make them interested about their company. And actually there was just a few weeks back, there was one big ICT seminar in Nairobi, which was also the similar occasion, that there was a lot of startups, and then there was they pick up the most potential one, and then
so they are pitching. Yeah.
And that was like a month ago. I don't remember what.
Okay, we need to go here. Yes, just walk in. Yeah, to see. Oh, very useful, good, practical information you are giving. What is the attitude of Kenyans to businesses coming from abroad? Is it very welcoming to cooperate with foreign businesses?
Depends who you ask. If he's competing with you, then of course you don't welcome it, but if you can profit, then of course. I think it's no problem.
Yes.
It's like any business. I think it's. Is there any? Do you get any value addition to being the foreigner? Maybe not. I don't know. I think it's not so big deal. I think
it's not a big advantage.
No, I think it's not.
Yeah.
Not in many. I think the people are not so much thinking about that. For example, if they're using some applications coming from where it's coming from, is it coming from Europe or it's coming from Kenya? I think people don't think about that so much.
Business is business.
And they're just thinking if it work or not.
Yes. So many things already, but let's have a quick look if there's something. But it's a good time to approach Kenyan markets. anyway.
Yeah, it's growing fast. Yeah, I think in some cases it's already too late to come here. Actually, that is the one thing what I was just last week. I was at one breakfast meeting. It's one Norwegian company. They do the trailers for the small trailers, and they start marketing up here. And actually, the trailers are manufactured in Estonia. And there was an Estonian guy, the managing director of the factory, was also there. And he said he just told that first time, he was his second time here in Nairobi. He was here first time a few months back. And he said that when he mentioned that he's traveling to Kenya and Nairobi, his friends and everybody said, where are you going there? And it's a dangerous place, and then blah, blah, blah. And then he said that when he came here, he was very surprised that everybody here will have smartphones, they are on the net all the time, and he has old-fashioned phones with the keyboards, and he's, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, that's actually my experience as well. Yeah, I'm working with young guys here, and I came with very old-fashioned editing facilities and cameras last year, and I was like, wow, I'm really out of place here.
Yeah, but that is what I'm trying to do now, to changing the people's mindset about that. That first of all, that this technology which is coming, the mobiles and everything, the people don't stay in the villages anymore. The young people, even the donors they do the project all the time in the villages. They try to keep people staying there in the nice huts and staying in the countryside. But when they have access for the mobile phones, they know what is going in the cities and everything. Everybody they are moving to cities. That is the one thing which is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, that's very important to write in the
and there's a lot of things which are happening, and then the cities are coming bigger, and then things happening in the cities. And these mobile phones are making big changes here. And I try to change that mindset that if you go to Finland, everybody's thinking about that Africa is like children with a big stomach, and there's flies in ears and nose and eyes and everything, and they're sitting somewhere next to the mud house, and then they are very happy they have a solar charger and they can charge their cheap radios or cheap mobile phones. Yeah. But you don't see any pictures for Nairobi in the fancy shopping centers or the fancy cars or everything. It's exactly the same thing when I was in China. When I went to China, everybody was thinking, okay, the China is the communist country. People are driving with the bicycles, and they have ponytails and long nails and whatever. And then they're coming like 2005. I tried to okay, companies, you have to come to China to see what is going on here. Then they come to see. In Shanghai, they look all those skyscrapers. What is going on here? Why nobody told me?
Yeah. So it's the same here.
Yeah, things happening very fast. But then I always say to the company that you don't, in emerging markets, you don't have time to wait. The things happening very, very fast. It's not like Europe that you can wait. Okay, I come next year, or maybe after 2 years I come. It's too late. It's already the changes. Everything changes very, very fast.
Yeah. And then back to the education system, and because the problem here is that there are not enough books in schools, and what is your opinion for the future? Is it tablet computers and the content in tablet computers, or any device that is the future of African schools?
No, I think in many cases, in most of the cases, that will be the normal books quite many years. If it's it depends where the money comes from. Of course, the all the time project, if the money coming from the donors, they can with these tablets and everything. But if it's depending for the Kenyan government, I think they don't put any time for the schools improving these kind of things in most of the Kenyan schools. As long the donors are doing that. If the donors stop doing that, then the government has to do something. But of course, as long the donors are bringing the free money here, the government do nothing for the schooling or any equipment and that's why it depends.
And there are not so many libraries around here either. So.
No. Yeah, but I think it's as long as this development aid flowing in the country, that the government leaves all those things for the donors, like healthcare, education. And I think Kenya is a very good phase. If you go to Tanzania, look what happening there, nothing. And Kenya, you have actually Kenya. I think the education system in Kenya is quite good, in that you have anyway the basic primary education is free. I think it's secondary education is free also. Most of that is free. And if you look at enrollment rates in Kenya comparing to Tanzania, Kenya is like something like 80 to 90%. Tanzania, after the primary school, it's dropped like from, say, I think in primary school even it's like 70, and then it's dropped under the 50%. And that is one thing, is because Kenya is doing very well because the whole school system is in English. And what's the problem in Tanzania is that they have a primary school in Swahili, and then they change suddenly in secondary school in English, and then there's a lot of dropouts.
Yes, yeah.
But I think it's a wise thing to do it in Kenya, what they have done, the whole school system from kindergarten to universities in English. That's what they do, for example, in Rwanda at the moment, that they are changing the school system from the French to English. And of course, and I'm everybody very happy when I'm driving. I'm living in Karen, and I'm driving there to all the way around the city to Suuta, Dagoretti, and Kikuyu.
Yeah, you come the way. Actually, you are living in Karen, yeah, and I'm living in Dagoretti, or one of the slums there in Kabiria. So it's the same route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every morning you see a lot of the small kids going to school, and I think it's very good.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't see so many street kids in Nairobi or in Kenya.
Oh, we are working with the street children.
Yeah, I think they are, but
they are. You don't see them that much, but they are.
But if you go for example in Addis, if you go to street in Addis Ababa, there's a lot of kids on the street which are not into school.
Yes.
But I think in Kenya you don't see so many, that because most of the kids they are in any way some schools, which is good.
There are 60,000 street children here, and mostly they are in slums.
Yeah.
So that's why they are not so visible in centers. Okay, I think we got really good information here, and like seeing which way to go, the next steps. Is there any message still you would like to
You wanna clarify something?
Okay. Thank you very much. This was really good.
My pleasure.
Thank you.